Congratulations, everyone, for First Blush.
Thank you.
I really liked it. It was a very cute, romantic relationship type of story. So it was great.
Yay!
Awesome.
So let's throw out the easy question to Victor first. Where the original idea came from, Victor?
The original idea was to do a classic Hollywood rom-com, just a straight up love story, but do it with 3 people instead of 2, because I hadn't really seen a movie like that. And I knew people in relationships like that, but every time I saw a relationship like that on screen, it was kind of, I don't know, it didn't strike me as particularly honest or real, or, it was kind of exploitative or, over dramatic. It didn't feel like relationships I had known, so I wanted to do something a little bit more grounded.
Absolutely. And when we say relationships, you never been in this type of relationship, right?
I've never been in a relationship with 2 people at once, but I have had experiences where I've had feelings for more than one person at the same time, so but no, I've never had a functional polyamorous relationship.
For the rest of you folks here, what attracted you initially to First Blush? Why did you folks want to do this? Who wants to start?
I'll start this time.
All right, good.
Well, I really liked the story, and I really liked Nena's journey that she went through. And I at the end of the day, I was just thinking about it. It doesn't even feel like it's strictly like a polyamorous movie. I think really it's just a movie about relationships and individuals trying to discover themselves and to figure out what they can do to feel better about themselves and to treat, I think, their loved ones better as well. So I think the overall story was attractive, along with the characters within them and their own issues.
Wow. Kate?
Yeah.
Ryan?
Well, when I first got the script, it was just refreshing because I thought the lines were really well written. And that's sadly very hard to come by. And it just felt like, I don't know, already, the lines just felt like they were a part of me when I was just reading them on my couch before I was even involved in the project. And then when I came in, Rachel and Ryan were already cast, and I came in and read with them for a kind of chemistry test to see if I'd get the part or not. And I walked away, I was like, whoa, those are great actors. I would love to work with them. And yeah, I think, Rachel and Ryan also really sold me, and I was attracted to be able to do those lines with them and, make something with them.
That's cool.
Looks like, Ryan, you have the last word here. A lot of good things to say about you.
Yeah, no, I had been predominantly doing indie dramas and stuff, and I never got an opportunity to do a comedy, let alone a romantic comedy. And I know that Victor, after I met with him for the first time, had a background in television working for Portlandia. So I knew that he had good instincts. And I also knew that he was on the post-production side and the editing side, which is something that you always want to look for, because then, during filming and stuff that they're getting the proper coverage and it's going to come out, well. And also at the time I had a friend who was in a polyamorous relationship and was losing his mind. And I had never heard of it before. So the first time that, I saw it in the script and Victor talked about it, I thought, this seems like it's something that is relevant and also something that I have no experience in. So.
So speaking of, how did you 3 develop your chemistry? Obviously, because this is a relationship type of movie, actors would need to basically develop a chemistry before production, right?
Yeah. Well, I just know for me, at the chemistry read between myself and Ryan, I was waiting in the audition room, and Victor had gone out to meet Ryan, and I heard Ryan talking, And in his voice, at this moment, I was like, oh my gosh, that's Drew. It was something about, I just heard him and I was like, oh, that's him. It was so magical. And it's such a strange thing because as an actor myself, finding the voice, right? Like I'm not talking about the physical voice of a character is very important for me. So when I heard him speaking, I was like, oh, that's it. And it was really quite easy, to be honest. I think as human beings, I trusted Kate and Ryan very quickly. There was something refreshing about their authenticity. In LA, we don't always get that, but the ones who are, I think, are very special. So there was my natural inclination was to trust them. And also Victor did a trust building practice, if you will, or activity between the three of us where we spent was it an hour locked in a room together?
Yeah, we didn't have time for rehearsal. I mean, Rachel was doing a movie, I think, in the weeks leading up to doing this. So kind of on the first day of the shoot, we kind of had to do sort of a speed dating thing. While we were setting up the first shots, I just threw Rachel, Ryan, and Kate in one of the side rooms and gave them a bunch of index cards with questions on them. I wasn't even there for it. It was just I don't know what the questions were, guys.
I mean, they were very personal. They were questions, and we all shared. So it was very quickly we got to know about each other, and we shared intimate things about each other. And I think by doing that very quickly, it connects you in a way.
Sort of a cheat code for relationship trust building.
Yeah. I think Rachel really hit the nail on the head there with that it was trust, and it's a lot of trust and respect. And so it just made it really easy because, I think that's the perfect, we've been asked this question a lot about chemistry, and I think that's absolutely spot on, Rachel.
And I think it also has to come, naturally. It's a natural process. And I've been on films before where actors come in and their egos are loaded up to the hilt and, they want to purposefully treat people different ways or treat them like their character. They make it known. It becomes uncomfortable. And instead of forming that trusting bond, it just separates people more. So I think, we all just fell into our parts quite easily without really, beating it over the head.
I think it also, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think it also kind of helped that we had a very small crew and the cast was also pretty small. So it was really just kind of us as this little unit. So I think it was pretty easy just to sort of not only trust, have the actors be trusting each other and me, but just, it was really just kind of a handful of us making this thing. So we all got very comfortable with each other. It became just this little, like the Breakfast Club or something every weekend, getting together and making this, it all felt very easy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go ahead and assume none of you have been in this type of relationship before. So was there anything uncomfortable or something that you had to do for the first time on this production?
I know I wasn't sorry. I wasn't uncomfortable. I was excited to explore the dynamic. And as an actor, I know my boundaries, and as a human, I know my boundaries, and oftentimes they pretty much align and probably should align. But there was never a moment that I was uncomfortable. I was quite thrilled to be working with this crew. I mean, Victor was amazing. He knew what he wanted in a scene. So yeah, I felt very comfortable being in the scenes with everyone at all times.
Well, then let's talk about the Menage a trois scene here. How did you folks make it so comfortable for yourselves to basically kind of go through a fictional sex scene for the film?
Well, it wasn't written in a hypersexualized way. Like the way it was written in the script, to me, it had those kind of awkward moments, and it had that, oh God, now I'm feeling left out. Oh, now you go. So and that we were all figuring it out together. It's not like one character has done this a million times and could really take the reins. So it was like, because we were all exploring it together, like our characters were all exploring it together, that I guess that made it more real and more relatable. And because it wasn't written in a super sexual way, so I never even thought of it as a super sexual, like as a big sexual moment, and I didn't think it came across like that really. So yeah,
I feel like we approached it the way we approached every other scene, which is like, let's just try and find like the honesty within this. It wasn't like, let's try and make like the hottest three-way scene since Wild Things or something like that. It was like, okay, so how would this kind of work, and how, and it does feel slightly awkward. Hopefully it is also sexy, because I mean, that is the reality of what I think the characters are going through, that they're like feeling this, they're feeling very charged, but at the same time, it's a little awkward until they kind of get into the flow of it.
But you choreographed it very, very well beforehand to make sure that we were all, on the same page.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely important for me, and that goes back to trust. I feel like, it's I think it's important that everyone feels good about what we're doing. It's the same way you would choreograph a stunt or something. You don't want anyone to be in a position that they like, where they feel like, whoa, you know what I mean? So we talked all that stuff through.
And I think also it kind of worked because we knew each other, but at that point it was so early on that we didn't know each other that well. And so just the natural awkwardness of it, and like, how does this person want to be touched? Am I getting too close? All this stuff, that I think that was just in the moment naturally. And so,
yeah.
Like, all that said, I think the very first thing we shot was the first kiss between Rachel and Kate's characters, like first shot of the movie.
In the tent, right?
Yeah, in the tent. Like, and I thought that was kind of let's just get that out of the way. Let's break the ice, And like, okay, cool, did that. Now we can get on to all the talky scenes.
But for you, Victor, this is sort of like your directorial debut. What was it difficult trying to do the romance part of it, or the comedy part of this film?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. I think comedy is like the hardest thing to do, always, because if you're just a hair to the left or to the right of like where you should be, it doesn't work and it falls flat. I got really lucky with I do feel like the three leads have a lot of natural chemistry, and that just kind of kept building throughout the shoot. So the romance angles, it's not just one angle, but like there are multiple lines of different types of romantic angles. I felt like that was going pretty well. As far as the comedy went, I kind of realized how each person was funny in their own way as we went on. Like, I remember the first weekend, like Rachel doing something like, oh, you're funny. Okay, cool. We can
I remember that the following weekend after we shot our first weekend, and the next weekend he went, Rachel, did you know you're funny?
Yeah. I mean, the hardest thing is like I wrote it and then I directed it. So writing something and then actually listening back to it and being like, is this funny, is kind of a difficult thing. It's like laughing at your own jokes, which like is lame. But if you get funny people to do it, it's not so hard. And then I also cut the movie myself, and I feel like the comedy really starts to gel when it gets down to the edit. And I was a lot more comfortable from the post-production side of things because I've worked in comedy TV on the post-production side. So getting the timing right and the rhythm right, I think was key.
Absolutely, because I know Ryan was attracted to it because it was something different. Comedy was something different for Ryan. And I know Rachel does a lot of comedy because that's all she has, like all these comedy reels online.
Yeah.
So obviously, but for you, Kate, how comfortable was comedy to you?
Yeah, I mean, love to laugh. So yeah. Yeah, I've always been attracted to comedies. My background is I was living in London doing Shakespeare. I went to drama school there, and I mean, most of the stuff I was doing as well was comedy. Yeah. So.
And then you read this and were like, well, this is a lot funnier than what that guy was doing there.
Exactly.
Shakespeare who?
So just to add to that, like there's also kind of another thread of like drama, and like it's not just a straight up comedy. Like hopefully it's also kind of moving and a little bit painful. Finding the balance between those tones was also a longer process. How sad can we get and then go back to it being kind of funny without losing the audience? That was sort of a balancing act that took a while to get right.
I mean, the film has some pretty amazing dialogue, so I'm going to go ahead and assume there wasn't too much room for improv for this film, right?
There wasn't a ton. I think I write pretty specifically, even the ums and the and that kind of stuff. It's all very mapped out. But that said, before we would shoot a scene, we'd kind of just run lines, and if something was feeling awkward or if someone wanted to change it up a bit, I was always open to that, and we would find like the most natural way to deliver the lines. Because usually when someone's having a problem getting through a scene or something's feeling wrong, it's usually a problem with the dialogue. And I think if you change the a the to a but, or whatever, you can make a small change and make it. I remember there was one particular scene with Ryan where for whatever reason it just wasn't like it should have been working, and it wasn't. And there was like one line that I just forgot to write. It was like, and we kind of found it on the day, and the whole scene kind of came together as a result. So I'd say I can be a bit of a control freak taskmaster with the dialogue, but then it becomes very collaborative once the actors start saying it, and then it eventually like it's theirs at the end of the day, because they're the ones that have to deliver it.
That's terrific. And Victor, why Silver Lake for you? Obviously, a lot of indie films are based in Silver Lake because you basically put a lot of Silver Lake into this film. Not to mention you have everybody jogging all over Silver Lake through the neighborhoods. So talk about Silver Lake.
I mean, it's not the most dramatic answer, but like just on a very practical level, it's where I was living, and we shot it kind of like with what we had. So there was that. But at the same time, the characters are kind of going on this life-altering, crazy, like let's jump off a cliff and try this like relationship thing, but they aren't making too big of a deal about it at the same time. And I think that speaks to their environment. If they were living in like Kentucky in the 50s or something, I think that the story would have been different, and they would have not been like telling their friends about it or something, or, their fears and the pressure would have been more societal. But because it's happening in modern day Silver Lake, it's more internal and like emotional, rather than I wonder what everyone's going to think, because no one really cares in modern day California, so it was really just a sort of beyond the practicalities. It was about getting past the oh my God, I think I'm attracted to a woman, and it's kind of like yeah, whatever, we all are. We're in Southern California, like whatever. And so we could just like cut straight to the nitty gritty of it.
Great. And one final thing that I just wanted to discuss was the beach scene. What was that difficult to actually shoot? Because all I could say is that it looked windy and cold to me.
I was fine. It was like November. It was the last day of the shoot, so it was kind of cold. Well, Kate, was it cold for you? Because you're the one that's wearing like a small dress. Like I was wearing like a jacket and stuff. So I feel like
so unbelievably cold when we were sitting on the sand. I think most of it was all I was warm because it was like adrenaline for most of the day. But then that scene on the sand, I remember being like trying to keep my lips from shaking.
Remember, it was so windy. We all had balloons, and like in the scenes, they were getting intertwined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the sun came out as soon as we were done.
Huh?
The sun came out as soon as we were done. Remember?
It did. It did.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a shot of a sunset that's like pretty nice, and then we like wrapped the whole movie, and then
And it
like
was, like,
10 minutes
glowing.
later, the nicest sunset of all time came out, and we were like, oh, we should have shot it would have been too nice to shoot. It would have been distractingly nice. Like we got the sunset that we needed to get, in the movie, which is just sort of a little pink strip.
Like a mediocre sunset.
Yeah, like a mildly optimistic sunset.
It's funny to film on the beaches because when out in public, you always try to get like all these looky-loos trying to, see what you guys are doing. But I guess in LA, that's a normal thing, right, for you guys?
Yeah. Well, we didn't block off the beach, but we did get a permit to shoot there. So it was pretty much just our own people. And it was like late November, so no one was really hanging out on the beach. No one really cared. And we didn't have a giant crew anyway, so we kind of went pretty, under the radar, I think.
Great. Well, let me start to wrap things up. Obviously, every interview is going to ask you guys, would you guys ever enter into a polyamorous relationship or try it?
I would only do it with these three.
Good answer.
That was such a good answer. Darn it.
I feel like we already are kind of in one. We're just it's like we're in love with each other. It's obvious and it's kind of insane. Like, you guys are so good.
I would say only if like everybody is very aware of what everybody knows what's happening. There have been, oh my gosh, now I'm going to sound like a control freak, but this is how I would have to do it, where the boundaries were all very clear. We all knew what it was. It would just have to be very open and like all the limitations, if there were limitations, whatever needed to be in place was in place.
Yeah, I don't think that's control freak. I think that's
it's healthy. I think that's to protect everyone, right?
I think that's not just a polyamorous relationship. I feel like even in a monogamous relationship, you have to know what
your boundaries
is thinking, and you have to communicate. It's the same
thing. Yeah. Yeah.
I saw Kate was about to say something.
Oh.
Well, you had your hand. You're like.
Me. I mean, what Rachel said sounded good, but I mean, I think just who I am, I don't think I can do it. That seems like a lot. Seems very like overstimulating and a lot of emotions, and me personally, I don't think I could do it emotionally, but who knows? You
know.
No one knows. And I'm just curious, just for the actors, who was the best kisser?
Vic.
Should we say it on 3?
Nobody go ahead. I'm going to be put to shame here.
No.
What'd she say?
I don't know.
I think we all blacked out. Like every time I'm doing an on-screen kiss, I'm just like, literally, I just black out. So it's like, yeah.
Good answer.
Each of them had special qualities. They were different, but good.
Everyone was just furiously brushing their teeth right before every scene. I think everyone was fresh. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent. Well, let me just wrap it up with one last question for all of you, because obviously right now we're experiencing crazy times, and I'm here in California. I'm not in the Los Angeles area. I'm in the 4th worst part of California, in the central California area. But we're talking via Zoom right now. I want to know from each of you is, how are you staying sane and creative during times like this? Who wants to start?
I will start. I've done acting classes via Zoom, and initially I didn't have a positive outlook on it, because it was like, what's this thing? Am I really going to be able to learn from this? Will it be beneficial and worth my money? But the reality is I'm doing auditions and callbacks and producer sessions via Zoom. So having an acting class that is offering the same medium of my auditions because of the current situation has been hugely beneficial. So staying active in classes, and I'm definitely not working. I don't think many people are to the extent with which we normally would be, but there are still auditions, there are still some productions happening. So I've been fortunate to be on some features and some commercials, and putting my health first, and spending time with my new puppy.
There you go.
Yeah.
Kate?
Yeah, I mean, right now you get the chance to calm down a bit, and just stop for a minute. And right now I'm watching all these old movies that I've had that I've been like, I need to watch this because of the directing in this or the production design in this. And so it's like I'm feeling more creative than ever because I'm having that time to really sit with myself and sit and watch things. And I'm also directing, so and I get to have a small crew that I get to hire like personally and make them like, I can hire a DP that's my friend, or so it's small, and so and very intimate, and I feel like I'm having great projects come out of all this stuff that I wouldn't have the opportunity to do year and a half, 2 years ago. So
Great. Ryan?
Yeah, I think that, believe it or not, actors have been the most suited to kind of adapt to a situation like this, only because we are constantly out of work, wondering where work is coming from. It's just, we live in very unstable terrain. And so I think that a lot of us were used to it. So yeah, I've just spent my time writing a lot and reading as much as possible, trying to learn, new things that I necessarily wouldn't have the time to do. So that's what this whole year has been about for me.
Great. Victor, you have the last word as we wrap.
Sane and creative. I'd say for the first 6 or 7 months, I was not being creative and I was not being sane. I was being kind of just really depressed and insane and not getting anything done. And I think that's okay too, because I feel like I knew a lot of writer friends who, right when it hit, was like, well, I just got to take this as an opportunity and start writing and blah, blah. And like, I was just like, I don't know, man, I'm just going to step back for a minute and sort of recharge. So after a while, I got kind of bored of just not making things. I think after a while, you just kind of naturally want to start making things. So, the last 4 or 5 months have been like really productive, and I'm writing the next feature, and that's keeping me really busy, and getting this out, which is very exciting, obviously. So I'm just sort of like quietly like making my little plans and schemes for when this is all over. Like, oh, I'm gonna go to Ireland and Japan and just, I don't know, I just want to like do crazy things, and just sort of like in the Shawshank Redemption, just like keeping that little hope in your head of like, when this is over, here's all the cool stuff I'm gonna do, just to keep that idea alive.
Well, excellent answers to all of you. Hey, congratulations once more to everyone for First Blush. Thank you for speaking with me. This is a great conversation. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. That was great.
Thanks so much for having us. This was great.
Terrific. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.